So, what is what is and oh man, I just did a dumb move. I just recorded a nice video for you guys, and I didn't press the mic. I made a pure rookie mistake. A nice video, I think it was about 17 minutes. I had a couple little clips in there for you. So this is going to be the I'm a little pissed off. Let me try to get the same points back to you version of what I just had. And so with that being said, let me get back into it. Thank you for being here, checking me out. Do me a favor, please like, subscribe, share, like it. Get a little bit of an audience on my little channel over here. My opinions on some current events, entertainment, some good discussions. Been having some good discussions lately. This is not my live. This should just really be about 10 minutes max. And I hope to do a live on maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, afternoonish, evening-ish. Still get that sorted out till I could get on a little more regularly. And I'll save some of that conversation for that time. But yeah, like, subscribe, help a dude out, grow some stuff. I'll save the majority of some things that I want to say for the live stream. Come join me if you can. So far, it's Tuesday or Wednesday. Like I said, evening and afternoon. Now, let's me just jump back into what I thought I was recording earlier and totally didn't, man. So that kind of sucked. In my podcast, I'll address maybe some Janet Jackson stuff, maybe some Michael Eric Dyson, some other things that happened during the course of the week. And maybe touch a little bit more on this, if you could see in the background where we're going with this first, because I did it kind of late in my other video. Let me shout out to this dude. I check him out every once in a while on some of his videos. Keeps it pretty relevant and objective. Something good to say. You already noticed the George Costanza over here, and a lot of people that use his stuff, like Duke to Don to Duke rather. So this page is called Too Lazy to Try. Got a great picture of George Costanza. If you know his stilo, it's kind of a good picture of him and his demeanor and interest towards things. But behind that, or the fuller picture, we are looking at this dude named Andrew Schulz and his guest. You know what? I forgot to look up this Indian dude's name, but he's not really part of it right now. And these two black dudes, and their podcast is called ShxtsNGigs. Now, I want to lead up to the exact controversy and what I think the crux of the matter is when we're looking at stuff like this also. But I want to give you a little bit of a background. You see, in my last video, I queued it up and I played a couple spots. And I might still try to do that. It's not so cute right now, but I think what's next, I know what's next after this. All right. So these are some UK dudes, UK brothers who go on Schulz's podcast. Now, you know this guy. All right. And before you or I say somebody's not funny, since I'm starting my little podcast, my streaming and making videos and stuff right now, I don't want to jump right on the negative train and say what I don't like or say somebody's not talented. I try to give them a little more benefit than I normally would. Andrew Schulz, if you don't know, is a comedian. He has that show Flagrant with Charlemagne as well. And those are two personalities that you really have to be in the mood for to take their foolishness when they speak. In my opinion, they know a couple things, but I kind of have my own problems with pseudo-intellectuals. I think they're so deep, but they barely scratch the surface on some real thought about any of the issues and whatnot. And it kind of shows because very close to the surface are things that happen, like what happened in this podcast, that I hope to draw a bigger picture of right now. All right. So Schulz is known for, I guess, in the business, what you would call a edgy comedian. Does a lot of crowd work, a lot of he knows how to dress you down and figure out your life off of a few little clues. And in my opinion, it normally goes towards something more of a stereotypical comedy, to get people on board. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He does the talk over you and yell over you thing when he's on a roll, which kind of leads me a little bit to the interaction of these guys as well, right? So that's Andrew Schulz and a little bit of his shtick when he does what he does. I mean, just look him up online. I would say he's a pretty popular comedian. I just don't think he belongs in any of the greats, but he's good enough for these podcasts and people that are around today. I mean, they're a dime a dozen. Every comedian seems to have their platform and whatnot, whether they're good or not. So these two dudes, again, podcast name is ShxtsNGigs. I peeked a couple times just to see what they're about. Again, an acquired taste, if you say that. But these guys, two dudes, would assert that Atlanta has no baddies, and I'm doing my quotations over here that you can't see. Suggesting that there are no good, obtainable, or worthy women there in Atlanta. And I don't think they're just talking about women. I think they're particularly calling out Black women over there, which is quite of a bullshit thing to say. I don't even care to dismiss a whole city like that. You're telling me nowhere, the outskirts, the middle of the city, some of the neighbors in or around that place, there's no, you didn't, and it makes me wonder, what the hell are you looking at when you go into those cities and stuff? Been to Atlanta a couple times. It's not even a testimony about Atlanta. It's just in general, dude. Like, you could find beauty in a lot of things. All right. And I guess it also depends on how superficial you are and what you consider beauty. If you, are one of these dudes that are strung up on women, makeup filled women, and those eyelashes and fake hair and fake booties and blah, 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 blah. And that's what you measure your beauty by, you might be looking at different things, man. I don't know how this became about me, but, I like a more natural female that's comfortable in her own skin. Because I like that, man. Nothing more attractive than a person that's confident, but confident for the right reasons. Not one of these people that are like, you're all into yourself and shit, and you really got no reason to be, But if you have that confidence about yourself because you know yourself inside and out, and you're a good person, and you're self-aware, and you have that confidence, that's really what counts, because everything else is just masking the traits you wish you possessed. All right, let me get off my soapbox there for a second and get back to this. So after making the stupid comment, like there's no baddies in Atlanta, for crying out loud, and it says a lot. You're not really just targeting Atlanta, as I said. You're kind of targeting Black women, or even a specific Southern Black woman down there in Atlanta, even progressive Black women down there also. It doesn't just have to be a country thing like that. As you think about Georgia and all that kind of stuff, so you're really just sidelining a whole demographic, more or less. All right. So Schulz over here would continue to poke fun at dude and his hairline going back. You see that? You squint over there. He's got LeBron when he started losing hair, way the hell back there. But Schulz continues to say something stupid, like, which could start out as a joke, like, women are the reason for you losing your hair. But Schulz specifically says Black women, and then he goes on a little tangent, or I should say riff. You shouldn't really conceptualize it as him just talking shit, as I want to give him the benefit benefit of the doubt being a comedian and doing a little freestyle riffing there on the hairline and some of his impressions of black women. But in my opinion, and just my opinion, if you look back at it, and I will press play again, remember I did this before, and I didn't have my mic on because I'm a genius. He kind of lays it on a little too thick. And sometimes people like this, even though he's a professional comedian stuff, can't really read the room according to how they're being perceived, right? So you might think he's at the top of his game because nobody's ever tested it on his shit. And I'm going to ask the question in a little bit, where do you step in? But we'll get to that in a minute. And he starts going on about black women, how stressful they are, but a particular black woman nagging and this, that, the other. He didn't paint women, or not even women, black women, our black women, in a positive light. This is a comedian that feels very safe in a lot of places just because he runs on the stereotypes and feels like he's very welcomed wherever he goes. And he mixes with people like Charlemagne, which he feels gains him validity and popularity, and I guess street cred in anything that he does. So he goes on a tangent, and let's just see if I did keep it at the spot over here.
Yeah, so these seem fine with the jokes. They didn't have much of a problem with that.
The move.
Yeah. That means white.
Yo, who?
No.
Yeah.
Have you ever had white girls?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. What's your favorite? Stink, bro.
You think?
Detective. Do you guys have you ever had black girlfriends?
Yeah.
Have you ever had white girls?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. What's your favorite?
That's a weird question, but while it is out in the open, all right, they got a background of dating both. I don't know. I personally don't. I think you can date whoever you want. If you are black and you shouldn't have a history of just dating one type outside your race or anything like that. But if it's for sound all corny and shit, for like real love, I don't know your situation. That might suit you just well. My problem is if you date outside your race because you degrade or you don't find your race worthy of dating is where I have a problem. Do whatever the hell you want. You should never say, I don't date my women, blah, 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 because you look stupid, especially these are people, of course, look like your mothers, your sisters, your cousins, all that sort of shit in your family, and they wouldn't be good enough. They're not good enough. That's like the worst message that you could send. But here we go. All right, they date white, they date this. Let's see where they go.
We love them all.
Yeah.
Oh, really? We love them all.
Yeah. That means white.
Yo, who?
No.
Yeah. that means white. No.
You could see if Andrew Schulz was black, we would think he's like Step and Fetch It right there. Like this, that, like nobody really does that shit. He's just like an extra dude like that because he thinks that's the way that you should act. And not only that, but he thinks it's the way that you should act around people that are darker than him. Also, let's continue. Shout out to Too Lazy to Try. Don't strike my shit, dude.
Translation. Kendrick fans, get him!
Yeah, so these seem fine with the jokes. They didn't have much of a problem with that, but they did seem a little uncomfortable with the question that Schulz asked them at the end, like who they're into more. It seemed like they didn't really want to answer that, which kind of gives away the answer, like Akash and Alex were saying. And this topic is why these guys were going through some controversy in the first place. Like, even before people found this flagrant clip, they're already dealing with some backlash. And I believe it all started from this podcast, I'm pretty sure.
All right, so we talked about that.
I've seen the least bodies so far.
Oh, thank God we ain't from here.
I just said I'm not seeing anybody say it.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's what they didn't find anything wrong with.
Saw all the women in Atlanta. What a dork. All right. Oops.
Just saying.
That's such an.
All right, so I'm going to speed this up.
They didn't talk about how the controversy.
So here's the controversy. While Schulz was talking all his shit and seemingly degrade black women over there, these two dudes from the UK, with flavorless ass UK, they face criticism for not stepping in and stopping Schulz, right? Which I want to give the benefit of the doubt here and look at the platform and stuff. I would say number one, once this guy Schulz gets rolling, it's kind of tough to stick your foot in there and be like, hey, this is unacceptable. And I believe you can do that, but you also have to think about how the show is going to go from there. I guess let me get back on the soapbox here real quick. See, I'm more for making a stand and maybe disrupting the flow if there's something that you could learn from it, not just the spectacle. The spectacle's fine. They could both get up and be like, hey, stop talking shit, blah, 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 rip off the mics, what have you, and then walk off set and be like, F this podcast, what have you, and have it blow up that way, even have a little drop the mic moment. Or, they could be like, whoa, try to neutralize it a little, try to dilute it by being like, hey, maybe all women are crazy or, this kind of deal. But to just kind of sit there, take it, and be uncomfortable is not the way to do it, because what they would end up doing, which is kind of good for them, they would get back on their podcast and they would apologize for letting it happen. But that would be after a lot of backlash that I saw online about these two not saying anything and let it happen, right? And a couple things come up from that. One is the expectation to interject and stand up and not have something like that happen, right? If that happened with me or some friends, and also age-wise, I'm not an old man, but I'm a little older, experienced, got some education, other experiences with standing up when it matters, how to dilute stuff like that. If I were in that space, I think I would try to dilute it by maybe bringing in all women and not just make it a black woman thing, just for the sake of the comedy and keeping the flow. I would try not to make it uncomfortable because it is Schulz's space, and you sort of got to know what you're stepping into before you go on that stage and go back and forth with him as well. And again, he's got home court advantage. He feels very comfortable, very confident in what he's doing because nobody took the time to shut him down yet. Even if Charlemagne were real serious with him, I don't think he takes Charlemagne serious in that regard also, Number two is it's kind of tough these days, especially online, and everybody's got a page that everything seems like battle of the sexes, right? Battle of the sexes, battle of the races sort of deal. That if you are the guy to wear this on your shoulder and you are the guy to stand up in these sort of scenarios, what do you get for that expectation? Rather than the reverse of being put down to the ground for not saying anything. If that's expected of you, are you getting that respect out there for being respectable dudes, for stopping that sort of rhetoric when somebody like Schulz goes off and uses black women for his comedy, so to speak, So I think we should have expectations of each other. The title that I had before is "Am I My Sister's Keeper?" And it's kind of corny, I know. But yeah, I believe I am my sister's keeper. I believe I'm my brother's keeper as well. There's a part with a stand-up with Richard Pryor where, and I'm not going to try to do the joke because I will kill it, where he says they're talking about Leon Spinks, and he's like, everybody talks about how stupid he is. He's like, you're a boxer. Nobody says you have to be a scientist or whatever to be a boxer. What do you do? He's like, I knock motherfuckers out. And that's it. Great joke the way he does it. Look at it when you get a chance. But he also continued to say, that really bothers me when people ask me, like, isn't that Leon Spinks? Isn't he a dumb motherfucker? And I don't agree with him because I wonder, what will they think of me? That's sometimes when you're in that kind of space. And prime examples, dudes like Fresh and Fit, they think they're laughing at somebody else when people are laughing at them too, that they're not far removed from the ridicule when they think that they are part of the group doing the ridicule and stuff, that they don't see themselves as being in the same group you know, not realizing that they also are being judged, you know, under that microscope, and not valued as they think they're being valued. So, I mean, that's even with these two guys, even as sure as they're laughing and stuff, and maybe they felt like the group, maybe they were too uncomfortable to say anything, which they shouldn't, because they're all entertainers up there, and being on that platform means that you gain some sort of level of respect. So you know, should be a mouthpiece for anything that you don't believe is right up there and put a stop to it, you know. But, you know, do we have that agreement with each other? Do dudes have that agreement? Will we get that respect back? Do women have that? If somebody's going to disrespect your man, your people, are you going to stand up and say, hey, man, this is, you know, the buck stops here. Don't appreciate what you're doing. I'm going to stand up, you know. Put in the comments for me. What would you do in that situation? How do you think this should have played out? So these guys went out. They did their little apology, right? And then what you're seeing right now is these guys viewing that panel, viewing their apology. And then they would go on to poke a little bit of fun at it with that. All right. I believe some of the backlash is still being played out. Besides a lot of the chitter chatter, it doesn't appear as they lost a lot of subscribers or viewers and stuff like that too. But I think it's a good look that they went back to address the situation. It wasn't as humble as I think it should be. You know, that the blame wasn't squarely, that it was placed a little bit more on Andrew Schulz, and instead of what ShxtsNGigs dudes should have done. And I mean, that's one way of doing it. And it's YouTube, man. Don't really expect anything like Tom Brokaw type stuff apologizing. It's two dudes with on a computer with a microphone talking their shit just like I am, right? Well, sort of like I am. They don't forget to press the mic button when they start. All right, just wanted to drop this out before I do my live stream. Like I said, it might be tomorrow, Tuesday, or it might be Wednesday afternoon or evening. I'll try to put a little warning about it. Let me know what you think about this, man. What you think of the responsibility of black men and black women are, especially if we should be defenders if other people are talking shit like that, if you would put a stop to it, or if they should have put a stop to it and what they should have said in the first place, right? I think it's a bad look when we don't. We do have to have the balls to step up and show that we do have respect, you know, in our own house towards and with each other, you know, because if we don't, why don't we? And I don't want to waste too much time talking about it now. Maybe when I do my live, and I'll talk about what Janet Jackson said about Kamala, and my thoughts about that. I feel like, why do we want to make this woman black so bad? And I want to focus on Barack Obama a little bit, how he was treated from some of our so-called black dignitaries. If we respect our black leaders, or we want a president so much, what's going to happen? Why do we feel like we should be nastier with each other than we would with this felon opponent up there? Anyway, before I make this thing 2 hours, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Please subscribe, like, share. I try to grow my little channel. And I will see you later.